it's not working. Good evening, everybody. Let's start over. Um, this is 12:44 a.m. in the morning on August 4th, 2026, and we are on day 2,192 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Yeah, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier, courageous, loyal, distinguished undergraduate Richard Halliday, who wanted to be a CID agent, was forcibly removed from his barracks room because he was whistleblowing, and he was reporting, and the evidence is indicating that he was reporting the warning that they were planning on this Walmart mass shooting. Of course, he was reporting the criminal trafficking. We know that, which includes the fuel theft on Fort Bliss, but we know that his unit was tied to the Walmart mass shooting, and we know that he was reporting before August 3rd, 2019, and we know that extreme amounts of manpower and money has gone into this code red and cover up of our son, to silence his his reports, him, his story, our family's questions, and to hide his remains in Mexico. And so, yeah, it's um, it's all documented. This is not something we're making up. This is not speculation. This is all documented and made official now. And so, we're coming on to make sure that everything is on and working. Yep, I see it now. Okay, great. So we can get started. We have a task because everything has been officially documented. And April 24, 2024, the Board of Inquiry for the United States Army declared Richard deceased, determined him to be deceased without a body, okay, because the evidence was so overwhelming. And we know what that evidence is, right? And of course, they probably have some other evidence that really, just couldn't be ignored. They declared Richard deceased, which is um, not so uncommon, um, but still uncommon. And then, of course, a year later, not even a year later, in January 24 of 2025, Richard was uh, designated killed in the line of duty. Now, the first designation is very important because it confirmed that he was killed on Fort Bliss. Okay. And so that was established. And of course, the evidence, because that was a big question for a long time. Where was he killed? Where was he killed? And the evidence was so overwhelming that it was on Fort Bliss, which is very important because then the perpetrators can be tried in Texas federally, right? And then they're facing the death penalty. If they had killed him in Mexico, there's no death penalty in Mexico. That's why, and of course, we knew his body was in Mexico. So that took years of investigating and all of the evidence. And so the Board of Inquiry, um, really, the evidence was so overwhelming that it was deceased and on Fort Bliss. Okay. Um, this is before we knew about, well, we did know about it, but we hadn't put all the pieces together. It's kind of like a Lego. You see all the pieces and you're organizing all the pieces, and this is a certain color and this is a certain shape and all of that, and that it's going to fit and make one incredible Lego design, right? But you don't know, you have the pieces, but you don't know where they all fit. And that is our analogy. We had um, the the arms room. We had the seal number, but there was so much um, obstruction for so long that that's why it took a while to figure out where that piece fit. And of course, from 2020 to 2024, April 2024, almost 4 years, before the evidence was so overwhelming that the Board of Inquiry had no choice but to um, declare what the evidence shouted out, cried out, right? The rocks cry out, right? The stones cry out the truth. And that's what happened. And then, of course, the Board of Inquiry um, had to determine, was it in the line of duty? Was he killed in the line of duty? And that was officially declared on January 24, 2025. And with that, and then of course, the letters from President Trump, not one, but two letters, really important what he had to say and what that means. And so I don't know if y'all know this, but I was a math major, right? I'm a teacher, a math teacher. And so I look at things as puzzle pieces. I look at things numerically and statistically. And so, I want to know, in our family, we want to know. That's how we investigate each a puzzle piece and let's put the timeline together, and then let's look at everything statistically to help us understand what's going on. And so when you look at Richard's case statistically, um, it is the only outcome is intentional weaponization of our government, and in this case, the U.S. Army. In this case, Richard's unit, and of course, corroborating the the code red order to have him killed and for the cover up, and the orders that preceded that to cover it up more and obstruct justice in it. Because statistically, that's the only outcome. There's no other, it was an accident or anything else. Okay. It's just impossible. You, and so we laid that out today. And I even posted it because when we got the letters from President Trump, adding on to these official documents, uh, we want to know what is it really saying, because everything is very political, right? You have to be very politically careful, especially in a government that has been turned on itself and or turned on the people it's supposed to serve, and weaponized against us, right? And we saw that over and over again, that our government was weaponized against the very people it was supposed to serve and protect. So uh, y- so we understand that within that system, people have to be very careful how they're saying things, because the courts have been weaponized, right? And you saw that with January 6th. You saw that with COVID mandates, people that said, no, we don't believe that one Cobra Strike injection or whatever is good for everybody because some people have diabetes, some people have other health problems, um, and we don't know the effects of just one for all. It just doesn't fit one for all. And then others with their religious exemptions. Rightfully so, that makes us America to be able to have religious exemptions and then some that didn't believe the science, right? Some like us, we just didn't believe the science. We believe in that when you say stay in the dark, stay away from your loved ones, put a dirty snotty rag over your mouth, that's not science, right? um uh, that we think science is getting out in the sunshine because sunshine is so purifying. Even Superman is powered by the sun, right? By the purifying sun. He's healed by the sun, right? Um, I'm just saying, because of grandchildren watching Superman. um, but and good clean water, and of course, water is like the issue right now. Um, and we have so much water everywhere, but none of it is fit to drink, right? Um, beautiful, clean, um, uh, water that has been structured, right? Not all water is equal. Structured water is so healthy, especially when it's clean, sparkling clean. Um, there's just a lot of science when it comes to water, right? And God didn't pick water for the element of baptism for nothing. That's for sure. There's so much when it comes to what water is and what it means and how it affects our health, right? So spiritually and physically. All of that kind of discussion was not allowed during the whole COVID. You know, um, how love, just being with your loved ones, making sure that your grandparents and your children can hug each other and that interaction, that joy changes the whole um, uh, the reduces the acid in your blood even, right? So, we weren't allowed to talk about this kind of science. It was one for all, and if you didn't agree, then you were retaliated against, and you were called a super spreader or even a killer or whatever. It was just absolutely our government was weaponized against us and against our freedom and against our civil rights. And I think that the Secretary Kennedy, uh, in his interview recently, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, with what's that lady's name, Bash or whatever, who's tied to the CIA, which means is that Mormon Mafia or what? I don't know. Uh, just saying because of our years of investigation. I don't know. But all I know is that she didn't care about our constitutional rights in this conversation. And that means she has no clue what freedom means and what America stands for. Um, yeah, so it was a very interesting interview, and I hope that everybody gets a chance to watch it. This whole change, what is happening in the last 18 months is huge. And all the puzzle pieces are starting to be put together. And we're at it feels like we're at the end because we can see what's going on, and very exciting to see those last puzzle pieces fit in. And where are we at? We have the official documents. The statistics absolutely tells us that we're right. And now we are in the battle for the repatriation of our son's remains back to us, because we know that they're being held hostage in Mexico. Um, it's not a coincidence that the very individuals that were part of trafficking our son's remains to Mexico for disposal were entrusted um, i- in receiving the evidence. It's like, really? What? And now, even on the oversight, right? Because they're still obstructing justice there, for many, not just for Richard, but for many. We're talking about many different remains. And of course, this is in the funeral fraud business, the funeral home fraud business, which is huge and connected to the the mega fuel, watchical fuel theft rings there at the premium basin, and also with Pemex, just decades long of creating a network of fuel thieves connected to cartel that funds all the other crimes, really just about all the other crimes. I think once you stop the fuel theft, okay, all the other crimes are going to just and I shouldn't say all, I should say almost all. Like, I think 80 to 90% of all other crimes will just crumble because it's the fuel theft that literally, and this is not, I guess it's a play on words, fuels all the other crimes, including the child trafficking, including the drug trafficking, including the cartel wars, which is very deadly, right? People lopping off heads and all that so that they can get control over certain pipelines, to get control over the fuel proceeds, right, of the stolen fuel. Huge amounts of money involved in it, and then all the money laundering that goes with that, the money laundering that they have absolutely polluted our funeral homes, with just terrible things that involve organ harvesting. Home Depot bucket full of organs, and the very shady characters that run these, that don't mind engaging in sacrilege, right? The abuse of corpses. And then, all the drugs that are involved in that, because how do you live with yourself? And all of uh, you know, uh, um, the judicial, the need to control the courts, to control law enforcement, to hide all of that. The fuel theft is really the engine, the fuel that runs all the other crimes, just about all the other crimes. And so President Trump, you see what he is focused on. He is focused on making America energy um, self reliable, and with so much of it. Um, and going after the fuel thieves and the money laundering with that. And I think that's what the whole Jeffrey Epstein was, is he was the premier money laundering for the fuel thieves. Um, and so, it really is starting to all come together because the Delta Battery 143 was the fuel distributor unit. And of course, the individuals connected to Richard were involved in the distribution of fuel on Fort Bliss. So the whole thing is him reporting, not being compromised, reporting this criminal activity that would reveal, th- um, just unravel this whole cartel criminal uh, scheme that leads right to the fuel thieves. Um, it's just huge. It's just Richard needs to have a huge, beautiful, golden statue in El Paso, maybe on Fort Bliss, um, in Longford, Ireland, um, and of course, and probably in Washington D.C. Because what he did is just, in our view, and of course, we are a bit biased, a lot biased, because not just because he's our son, but because of the 7 years of investigating and everything that we know that he went through and what we've gone through and how they really tried to smear him. And he's just sparkling clean. He's just not only that, he's totally a hero, loyal, courageous. I mean, President Trump's letter is not normal, okay? It's not a normal condolence letter. And not just one condolence letter, but two condolence letters. It's just not normal. It's so rare. And somebody like our son is very, very rare. Um, uh, yeah. So, so we absolutely have to spread that truth, um, and get the accountability and get the recognition. That's why we hope that you sign our petition for recognition for Richard. I need to post that again. Um, there was a little anyway, but there are people out there still that want to hide the truth, just like what's going on in El Paso on the 3rd of August 2026, that we just had the 7-year anniversary for the Walmart mass shooting. And I want to talk about that a little bit tonight too, kind of continue what I did yesterday. But the big breaking news is in the State Department. You can see that what we've been doing is having an effect. And General Counsel Foley, and they might say, oh, it was time for him to go or whatever. No, we know that there were complaints about him. We know that those complaints involved him leaking classified and very important information about from CBP about the border to Maru Campos and Carlos Manuel Salas without going through the protocol. And the protocol is important because it leaves a record. If Maru Campos wants um, that kind of information, then she needs to request it, officially request it, just like we have spent years requesting information officially. Um, and so she needs to, she's required to officially request it. And General Counsel Foley needs to require that she and Carlos Manuel Salas, the prosecutor for the North Zone of Chihuahua, um, which includes Juarez, uh, needs to tell them, if you want information from me, you have to request it officially, put it on paper. But that's not what he did. He leaked it and to hide that they were getting that information. And they used it badly because they're Sinaloa cartel proxies. So he's leaking essentially to a specially designated terroristic organization that is in alliance with other specially designated terroristic organizations. This was a very, very serious complaint against him. And to see that he is gone, that he is out, that those complaints got through is a very good thing. It's a really good thing. And now we have General Counsel Beamer. She has a long history. We'll see what happens because the complaints are not about just Foley, just about a diplomat. They are about the corruption there at the consulate in Juarez. Okay. We know that Jeffrey Epstein was there having his parties. We know that cartel individuals have had free reign to come in to that consulate. And we know a lot of other things about that consulate. And so, uh, Consul General Beamer has her work cut out for her because she's surrounded by specially designated terroristic organizations and the El Paso cartel, which I'm just waiting for President Trump to say, yeah, I need to designate the El Paso cartel as also a specially designated transnational, right, terroristic organization, because they are. They are absolutely that, and very tied to the root cause of all of this crime and the power of the cartels and everything that they do with the trafficking, including 500,000 children. Um, and that is the fuel theft, right? The fuel theft, and which affects everybody. Because if you're trafficking drugs, not everybody is lined up to buy cocaine. Not everybody wants meth. Not everybody wants fentanyl, right? You can just say no, right? You can just say no. But when it comes to fuel, right? We all need fuel. We're lined up to buy fuel. And so it's um, really crimes against humanity when you're stealing fuel from Pemex, from the people themselves, and then turning around and trying to sell it to them. And then not trying, you are selling it because they need it, right? We all need it. And then playing this tax game, going back and forth across the border with what you call fiscal, they call it, forging documents and, all of this fraudulent documentation, and which goes to what I was just saying about the consulate. If Maru Campos, the governor, the Sinaloa cartel, El Chapo fentanyl governor, wants information from the consulate general, then she needs to go through the proper procedure and request it. And the same thing with Carlos Manuel Salas. And we know that both of them are dirty. But even if they weren't dirty, they'd have to go through the proper procedure. Otherwise, why have the proper procedures? Why? So that they can weaponize the government against the people that are looking for information. And they say, well, you have to go through the proper procedure. And then they stall, stall, stall. But the people that are the criminals, they get access to the databases freely. That's what was happening. And that's why, Connell Wetton, the FBI Mormon Mafia, leaked Richard's identity to the cartel because he had access, of course, as the FBI, to the records, and he just leaked it. The cartel had access to the databases, the intelligence databases, to law enforcement databases. And throughout this whole 6 years of investigating, I can't, the leaks are just incredible. Um, and so the letter by President Trump saying that the government was weaponized, he was acknowledging that Richard was retaliated against, that the government was weaponized. And, that is so rare, so rare in any kind of government letter. They're always covering up what's going on. And of course, we redact those letters. They're very, very special and private letters to us, and they have information that it just it's kind of like being very, very careful uh, uh, in the language, right? And what President Trump has kind of done is, fearlessly say the truth in these letters. So the letters need to be somewhat protected, because there are bad elements that want to do harm still, and you see that, right? So, so this is good, and we're watching what Consul General Beamer, what she can do, because it's very important for the repatriation of our son's remains. So this is, it was really welcomed information that we received about this, that Foley is out. He's just was up to no good. He was absolutely, and I can confirm that he was up to no good. So back to the Walmart case, and I think that is really important because there is false information still being pushed. And so we want to um, give you what 6 years of investigating, has really revealed in the Walmart mass shooting. And so I'm going to try to do just a little bit today again. Um, and of course, the big thing is the Maiella Crucius connection, a family affair, an incestuous family affair, because not only were they family, but they were in the judicial system, in the law enforcement system, in the prosecutor's office, the investigative body, the FBI, and in the ones that handled the evidence, the Walmart cybersecurity. So, but there's also more attachments with the Maiella and Crucius family. And so, I'll just put that up. Of course, they hid Patrick Crucius's father from us, who was attached to this John of God down in Brazil. And so it's interesting that the plane in the El Mayo um, illegal kidnapping operation, um, Air Kings, right? Air Kings, so multiple planes, that's what that sounds like to us. What one of those planes that they're saying they used ended up in Brazil, right, being sold to Brazil. So they have this Brazil connection, and of course, we know that with Oprah, with the Brazil connection, and this pipeline of the trafficking. Um, and I'm sure has to do with fuel too. I'm sure it has to do with fuel, and all of the things, the terrible, terrible demonic things that's going on with the bodies and the trafficking and the babies and everything. And of course, Oprah was very connected to, uh, you know, Beto O'Rourke, Bill Sanders, this whole Santa Fe, which is, Bill Sanders. um, is a very big part in this. That's the father-in-law of Beto O'Rourke with Paul Foster, totally funding Beto O'Rourke's rise in politics with loads of money, loads of money. Um, and of course, Beto O'Rourke is funded by big oil, and also that's how he voted. Also, to allow them to go across the border easily with oil and everything, kind of like Greg Abbott too. So it's that's something that was kept from us. This the father connection, and I'm just briefly going over some of the just to let everyone know that it's there on our website. The wedding of the Maiellas and the Crucius, Maiella in the court managing Judge Guadarrama's court. Of course, their connection with Jaime Esparza. Um, it's just as there is no mistaking that Patrick Crucius wasn't a lone shooter. He had a lot of company, a lot of help, a lot of people, um, directing him, and uh, not really in a nice way because he has a severe mental health condition. It's very clear, and it's been very documented, and yet they didn't do a mental health evaluation on him, which is required by law. So, yeah, I think that's important. Okay, so let me put up this next picture. Okay. So this picture is also very interesting, and maybe I can make it a little bit larger. See what I can do. 50%. Yeah, I can make it a little larger. Yeah, there you go. Um, this is, I don't even know if I should make it that large. It's so bad. This is what I want to show you here is this hallway, right? He's taking a picture of Alexander, who's laying there. But this is where all the action was said to have happened, and there's supposed to be 23. Um, and I know there might be others scattered, right? But 23 that died, and 22, and some are outside. That's true, but 22 injured, and there's just, there it's just so clean. It's just that's why I wanted to put that up. Gosh, it's just absolutely. Okay, so you saw that previous picture that Alexander was laying right here, and you even saw the blood trail. And here is a picture, and this is when you look at those pictures together, this is the same blood trail. It looks like they wiped it up. There's nothing there. I just put that black there to show you that's where the body was, right? But now it's not there, but the evidence is still there, right? So that means that the timeline doesn't fit. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have my display. Okay, here it is. Um, Sorry about that. So, here is another picture that was released by DPS, and it just doesn't add up, right? Because this black spot right here is where Alexander Gerhardt's body was. And you saw that video early yesterday, and the picture I just showed you, where this is where the blood trail was. Um, is. and it matches totally with the previous picture. And yet here is Patrick Crucius just coming in, but there's no body there. I just put the black there to let you know that that's where the body should be. But it's like they already removed the body, and they like wiped up the evidence, and then here comes, and Patrick Crucius in. The timeline doesn't add up, the evidence doesn't add up. It's very clear. This picture is so damning to their narrative. Very, very clear that um, something is very wrong here, compared to the other pictures and the other evidence. And if Walmart cybersecurity was controlled, yeah, I don't know. It's just, all I know is the evidence doesn't add up with the narrative. And we know for a fact that the crime scene was not secured for over 2 days. Okay, 2 days, over 48 hours, not secured. And that has been corroborated multiple times. So this is, I mean, this picture is just, when I saw it, I was like, wow. And this little paper here, you can go back and look and see, and it just doesn't add up. So if there's any questions, so before I put up another picture, I want to turn it off. Here's another view of it. So, okay, so here is another view that they gave us of Patrick Crucius coming in. This is where his body was supposed to be. Um, it just, what's going on here? Where are the people? Look how he's holding the weapon. Look how he's walking in. It just, nothing makes sense. It does not make sense. And the earphones on, he said he was supposed to die. Why is he having earphones on? Well, that makes a lot of sense to a teacher like I am, especially because I worked in special ed. When you're autistic, like Patrick Crucius is, just to go out in large crowds, they wear, earmuffs because they're so sensitive to that, right? Um, or this could also be one that has communication in it, and someone is talking to him. Or it could be both, right? It could be both, to keep him focused, to tell him what to do. But, where's the people? There's no, the chaos isn't really there. Okay. And Alexander Gerhardt is not standing there. He should be standing there. This should be before he was killed, not, no one standing there. It's just, there's so many wrong things about this picture too. So, okay. And I'm sure others that are forensic experts or other eyes would really be helpful on that one. And then I did want to share this picture. I'm just making it big so I can share it. This is the Anchandos couple. And so, and let me see if I can. I can make this. I'll turn this off. Just get the Anchandos on here, because this is really heartbreaking, and show these pictures, because so the Anchandos were about here at this bank, okay, the Walmart bank. And this is going in from that entrance where you saw him enter in, and there's just nobody there, right? There's just nobody there. And he's just walking. He's not even like shooting the gun, right? He's just walking with the gun, okay? And remember that Patrick Crusius had no signs of, blood, or his hands weren't even bagged for residue from gunpowder or anything like that, which they would normally do. Um, and here he is walking, and when you see him walking in the video, and the DPS did release this video, and you can find it on YouTube. This is already chaotic. This is already, they're already down. And here he is just coming. Okay. And there's just nobody else. It's just the strangest picture, right? So, and here comes the baby, right? There's the guy with the baby, right? Uh, and of course, who shot them? Because this is not the job of, well, we know Patrick Crusius, Patsy, was not alone. He was not alone. Um, he knew El Paso. He was very established in El Paso with his family in the establishment there. And so there are accomplices that are at large. And of course, we know that by Julio Cordero, the decorated FBI agent that once Richard was designated in the line of duty. No, I think it was deceased. Yeah, I know for sure. In April of 2024, when Richard was designated deceased, Julio Cordero went to work again. He knew that there were those that he did not get in the first Poison Ponds arrests, which were over 40 of them, that there were 2 that were at large, that were really, really the foundation of the criminal activity there in El Paso. And he was in communication with the AUSA, which is the federal prosecutors, and that was leaked, and soon after, he lost his life too. And that was such a cover up also. So our hearts go out with the Cordero family. They are an FBI family that takes serving the country seriously and fighting crime seriously. And no one has been so decorated and so successful in El Paso as Julio Cordero, and the good that he brought about with Operation Poison Ponds. So we really, I would like some more Julio Corderos. I really would. Absolutely. So that is really I think the major message I wanted to get out today. And of course, uh, I talked about the oil and President Trump expanding now in California, even the production of oil that was just sitting there, right? Just sitting there doing nothing, and then forcing us to have to buy foreign oil. So the whole oil thing is a very, very big deal. And the fuel theft is a very, very big deal. And, a lot of people don't want, like if you're DEA or, ATF or whatever, you might not want the fuel thieves to be caught, right? and I hate to say it that way, but I'm just saying, look, um, if that's like 80% of the cause of all crimes, um, then we wouldn't need so many of these law enforcement agents, um, if we didn't have so much crime. So just saying. I prefer that other jobs are being made available so people will have something else to do besides be um, um, an agent fighting cartels. So, you know, anyway, I don't want to say compromised by cartels because that's a real biggie, but I'll just say um, fighting cartels that have now been designated specially designated terroristic organizations. And that's a big deal. They're not foreign terroristic organizations because they're in our country. That we know that the CJNG, the Juarez Cartel, the Sinaloa Cartel are all in our country and operating in our country and have made home bases in our country. And so it's not foreign, it's right there. And they've infiltrated into our government and our military and our law enforcement and our judicial system. So, yeah, it's a big deal because one thing I didn't mention was that the fuel theft not only causes all that trafficking, but also the tampering with our government and our elections for the cover ups, right? They want to control the government and the elections for the cover up. So this is really why they went after President Trump. Um, and with the Walmart mass shooting narrative, it confirms that their target was President Trump and the 2020 election. So thank you so much. God bless you. Please share, share, share. And thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Laura, thank you so much for all your prayers and your love and all the sharing that you're doing. Um, Today's a great day because um, we know that we're having an impact when Foley is out. Is out, and he was their source of information in the consulate. So this is a good day. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will